So that's just standard, guys, and you can take that to the bank. It's not luck, it's not accident. All of the hardware has been reinserted into the riser block with epoxy. So intention, of course, is to tiller this bow with the block unrefined, I guess would be the best way to describe that. Like the block itself will give me something to work from as far as a flat surface is concerned. Once we get everything figured out, then we'll go on about, you know, doing the work on the riser block. Additionally, we don't know yet which of these limbs we're going to designate as our top limb, right? So we don't even know which side of the riser is going to be top from bottom. I've got just a whisper of backset on this bow. Ready to really just get going with the long string tillering. So I'm gonna see how this thing bends to start. I'm getting some good straightening on the limbs. Looks like it's retaining a little bit of reflex out there at the tips. Resistance isn't too bad. Getting some bend in the limb here. Also here, although this one seems to be a bit stiffer than this one, at least at the moment. Let's see here. Can definitely get it to a brace height. So I think I'm going to cut some knots into this thing, and we'll attach it to a short string and get started from there. I mean, I haven't even had to touch the limbs yet. The nice thing about working on takedown bows is that you don't have to be wielding that bow all over the place when you're trying to do work on things like the tips. So in this case, we can actually do our work. So you want to get them as even as possible at the start, and then just enough to seat a string. That's all we want, because we want to keep it wide enough to be able to narrow in here to get to alignment. So just enough for the string. All right, guys, I have marked out the contact surface for where the limbs meet the riser. And what I'm going to do here is just give me a little bit of a chamfer on the remaining portion of the limb, just simply to take that hard edge off, number one, and number two, just give me an entry point for tillering. All right, so first brace is always kind of a moment of truth. Kind of get a feel for how well you did on all the parts leading up to this part. And I'm gonna find out here real quick. We need to make a tillering stringer that has larger tips to accommodate, like, you know, stringing something like this up. But here we go. Low brace height, but the limbs appear to be even 6 1/16, 6 1/8. I got 1/16 of an inch positive tiller residing on this limb here. The resistance feels pretty good. And really this is probably a full draw scenario because I haven't worked this in yet. I'm going to take it just a smidgen tighter and raise that string just a little bit more, and then we're gonna just let it set and relax for half an hour. Let these limbs kind of flesh out their place in life. All right, got her strung up a little bit deeper here now. You can hear that twang. Pretty low tone, which means it's already not super heavy. Super heavy by meaning like it's not like 20 pounds over my intended draw. This is probably based on the tone of the string, it's probably in that 50-pound range. And my intent is to get something hunting weight out of it. And my timer just went off, so it's been half an hour. Shape of the limbs, I'm not noticing anything significant in terms of change in the way that they're bending. Positive tiller was on this side at last check. Dead on 7 inches here. And like 7 inches fat here. So we don't even have a 1/16 of an inch. We're dang near even. But I know that it's got a little bit of positive tiller on this one side because the knot, the timber hitch knot on this side, is propping the string off of the limb ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. So let's see what we got. Alright. The limbs came back to shape pretty well. What little back set we had is gone, but the limbs are touching, and of course this is straight out of the unstringing. So here we go. We're going to let this thing rest again now for probably 10 or 15 minutes. Given this bow probably quite a while to rest. I went inside and had some lunch and etc. We've gained back most of that reflex, maybe not all of it, but most of it. So a little bit of strain taken up to this point, but she is ready to be put through her paces here. So we're not really working much with specific tiller, kind of looking at the weight that this thing is drawing right now. Let's see here, as I approach like 18 inches of draw, I'm at 30 pounds. And you can see that right about at the 30 pound or the 18-inch mark, we start to straighten out at our tips. So where there's a little bit of reflex being held on to right here in the strung bow, at 18, probably a little beyond that, 20 inches, it begins to give it up. All right, at 20 inches, I'm 33 pounds. Yeah. Does not bode well for a full weight bow. So we can expect to pick up maybe another 10 or 12 pounds And we might get another 15 out of it, but there's a lot of tillering yet to be done. Although the bend really does look very good. So I'm gonna take this guy to 20 inches. And my peg here. No pencil line until right here, and it's really hard for me to see on this one. The pencil line starts right about here. So all right guys, I have marked out the section right here. This line is associated with where the reflex on this limb tip begins, and I don't want to mess with that section where I had pointed out that it was starting to straighten out the same as on the other side. So I think I've got good bend out in here. Just got to get this bending a little bit more up in this area to help match what's going on the other side of the bow. And really at this point I'm just trying to get the limbs matched up. So when I take my tillering gizmo to the limbs, when I draw out to the ends of the limbs themselves, the pencil line should start in the same place on both limbs, and that's not happening yet. We do not have much belly to work with here, and as such I'm gonna have to keep a flat limb. Take a sander and really just kind of work a little bit off right in here. Not a ton, because it's not that far off and we don't have a whole lot of material here. So here we go. I'm gonna need this filter anyway. Okay guys, I've been back and forth to the tillering tree 2 times now, and tillering corrections are manifesting very quickly. This line that I was working on what is my top limb is basically gone altogether. I went through with the tillering gizmo, got one little teeny mark right here, and of course it's in conjunction with a node. That sort of thing happens. So I'm just going to take that section out just with some sandpaper, because I don't think it's going to require anything more than that. But now that leaves me on the other side, bending a little earlier than what I was experiencing over here. So now got to remove some wood on the other end here to make up or get it bending a little more properly. And we're very quickly beginning to get to matched limbs here. As literally all I took off of that other limb and did all of that work. I'm following it up with 220 paper just to keep everything smooth. So I don't know when this is going to actually hit full tiller. Don't want to have any rough edges on the belly when it does. Really, really, we're doing everything we can, or I'm doing everything I can to preserve draw weight at this point. So just the minor tillering corrections, and that is it, because we are going to struggle to hit draw weight with this bow. Okay, I'm hoping this is a better view of what's going on. And I want to address the notion of, oh man, I hope the wind doesn't knock down my camera, more like my phone. Of the like ease of tillering, if that's what you want to call it, because I've been in and out of the garage now on 4 occasions to get this to where we're at right now. And I'm sorry that everything's rocking over there. Feel the wind at my back. So we're pulling right here at 22 inches. Right about 36 pounds. And the tiller is looking really pretty good. And guys, this doesn't happen, you know, like the ease of getting it tillered to this degree, like how quickly it's coming into shape. This isn't like an accident, it's not luck, it's all pre-work. Now, I will admit that I came a little closer than I would like to on the beginning draw weight, because we may end up doing something like taking off tips here to reach what we need to reach. I'm currently pulling to 24 inches, and you know, at most it seems to me like I need to get a little bit of bend right in here on both limbs. I was just pulling to 26 there a couple times. All right, 26 is like our magic number. When we make it to 26 inches, that's where we pretty much stop and handle all the other stuff. I'm going to mark this here. Not digging the bend. Right there. At 24, we're at 40 pounds. We got 4 more inches to get to 28. So, maybe touch and go here. We're going to do a little more removal, and we'll bring her back out and see how it's bending. Well, it's very quickly coming into tiller, but when I start getting to longer draw lengths, I want to address the bamboo back in here. Make sure that I don't have any sharp edges that are going to lift. You know. So I'll take those off, and then I got to do a little work here to get under the epoxy, and I'll do that with a draw knife. It just lifts right off. You can see I can do it even with my fingernails if I wanted to, but getting that stuff underneath your fingernail, yuck, not fun. Smooth down the nodes of the bamboo on the back here, and then did a little bit of removal out in these areas that I was noticing earlier or on the last run through. So having been out to 26 inches, guys, we are pretty much done. You know, at this point it's like working on the alignment of the tips, doing the grip, whatever. Really, we're at the point where we need to start shooting it in. And give it some exercises here to 26 inches because that's how far we had it before. And I need those tillering adjustments to register. But you can see, at least where we're going right now, that the limbs are bending almost in a circular fashion, and that's what we need. I'm actually pulling here to 27 inches. Alright, let's see where we're at. At 26 inches, 43 pounds. This limb really, to me, is looking pretty good. This one I feel like I'm getting a little hingy right here. Like I might need to remove just a smidge here. We're going to check that against a Tillering gizmo. I'm advancing the pencil here. Oh yeah, definitely hinging right there. And then I'm going to see how it matches up on this limb. And that could be because the node right here is stiffening it a bit. We'll go in and take a good look. Alright, I went in and did some very quick removals there. Not a lot. Doesn't take a ton of material off to affect the change on limbs this thin. And this wind is just kind of not a good deal. Let's get this guy exercised out. Take about 20 pulls to register those changes. And I should mention that when I checked the set or the string follow on this bow, when I took it in to do the tillering or do the wood removal, it was showing about 3/4 of an inch set on either side, or string follow rather, freshly unstrung. So we are taking some compression, and that usually shows up in the form of lost draw weight. So that's really what I'm concerned about. All right. Try and get a long view here. This is 27 inches right here. And I am liking that bend. Just pull to 28. Awesome scale. There's 28 inches. Measure. Oh. Okay, 28. It's 48 pounds. £48 bow. £48 green. All right. So we still need to shoot this bow in. I'm really liking the bend on those ones. So At this point, really, guys, it's just a matter of narrowing out these limb tips and getting the final alignment, which really was never an issue in the first place. So, at that rate, really what's left is forming out the grip or the riser. Shooting her in. We're at the end stages, pulling 48 pounds at 28 inches. And that's with the thick block, and when it comes time to molding out or carving out this riser, I'll probably put it more along the lines of 29. Let's see here. I am like 1/16 of an inch of positive tiller. I'm not going to mess with that for a couple of reasons. It is on an independent riser with two of the same style limbs. I want them to be pretty much even. They are tracking even. The only thing left to do at this point is just narrow out the tips. So and it's just going to be narrowed evenly on both sides because everything is tracked straight on this bow. It really is. It really has turned out pretty well. This bow still needs to be shot in. I'm going to hazard to say that it is a hunting weight bow. It finished at 48 pounds at 28 inches. We still got some shooting to do. Not much in the way of sanding though, because I was using 220 grit to do all of my final tillerings. So the sanding on these limbs, it's all but done, at least on the belly. We'll be doing a little bit, we'll remove the rind on the bamboo, but that's not going to have that much of an effect on draw weight. So guys, I guess the moral of the story here is when it comes time to laminated bows, right? Bows that you are preparing a belly for and you're putting a backing on, you have to pre-tiller those parts. You don't have to do anything. I'll take that back. But it's all of the pre-work that saves you all of the post-work, right? Like this could have been very tricky and complicated to have to tiller. But since everything was all done in advance, when I strung it up, the only thing I had to manage was the weight. And the only unfortunate thing about that is the slat was just a tad too thin, and that's it. That is it. We missed weight by like 5 pounds of draw weight. And even then, if I'm if I'm bent on it, there's two things I can do. I can just shorten the limbs by 1 inch each, and generally speaking, that'll give me 5 pounds. I have to do a little bit of retillering work, but it won't be that big of a deal. Or I can put in wedged pads right here. Like I can glue in something that's just, it feathers out to nothing and is at like a 0.5, or not 0.5, but a 0.05 or a 0.075 that will prop these limbs just forward, just a little bit, just enough to get that extra draw weight at full draw. I may or may not explore either of those options. So really at this point, guys, I am just interested in bringing it home or moving on to the next stage, which is working the riser out, working out the tips, and shooting this bow in. So what that means is we are done for the week this week. We are fully tillered, 28-inch draw, 48 pounds, ready to move on to the peak and tweak as soon as we get everything milled out. So guys, thank you for joining me again this week, and I will catch up with you next week.